Inside the classroom, America's children continue to struggle with a symptom of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Reading scores in the 2024 test known as the Nation's Report Card revealed both 4th and 8th graders continued a downward spiral. Young people in both grades scored an average of 5 points lower than kids who tested before 2019. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Reading and writing are crucial for navigating everyday tasks and a key indicator whether students will graduate or drop out of high school. And further evidence connects low literacy with crime.
In Georgia, for example, our investigation uncovered a connection between illiteracy and overcrowding in state prisons and jails. Investigative reporter Andy Parati takes an in-depth look at literacy's link to the criminal justice system and a solution to improve student outcomes.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
Kayla Hill is headed somewhere she doesn't want to go.
I might cry, honestly, because life's a lot different today.
On her way to the Barrow County Detention Center in Northeast Georgia, where she served time behind bars in and out of custody, 6 years for drug-related offenses. But this time, as a free woman and sober. When you walk through the doors of this jail, what were you thinking?
A lot. Really sad for the girl who came here. And honestly, just really, really proud.
Kayla says what saved her was a program to help get her GED while incarcerated. Before, the 33-year-old says she struggled to read basic words.
I remember being in Miss Harden's class at Belmont Elementary. And I think that's where I realized that I had an issue with reading. And they were going around the room, and I had no idea, like, where people were when they were reading, how they knew what they were saying.
A report published by the U.S. Department of Justice 30 years ago echoes Kayla's struggle in the classroom, shedding light on the link between poor reading proficiency and incarceration, revealing that reading failure is most likely a cause, not just a correlate for delinquent behavior, adding on average, incarcerated juvenile offenders are severely crippled readers. Judd Smith is the Barrow County Sheriff.
It's plug and play. It is 100% a link that if you do not have literacy and you don't have an education, you are walking down a path of recidivism, criminal activity, and then at that point, you're taken from society.
Testing results released by the National Assessment of Education Progress released in 2025 underscores the severity of the problem. The line on this map identifies what's considered a proficient reader in 4th grade. Since 1998, Georgia's 4th grade reading scores have never reached that proficiency goal. According to the Prison Policy Initiative, Georgia locks up 968 per 100,000 people. That's not only the highest in the U.S., the state incarcerates more people than any free democratic country on earth. Would you say, other than mental health, that low literacy is maybe the second most contributing factor of whether you're going to be in a jail or not in your lifetime?
I think that's very safe to say, and I think that all the data shows that.
So why are literacy rates so poor in Georgia? The DOJ report places blame on colleges and universities for not adequately preparing future teachers, concluding that most teachers have little or no knowledge of phonetics or intensive systematic phonics programs. In other words, not enough focus on instruction that includes sounding out words. The tragic side effect, the report wrote, is that reading teachers inadvertently victimize their students with less effective, if not ineffective, reading instruction.
It hurts my heart. The word victimize seems like such a strong word, but it's true. It's true.
Shannon Hammond is Executive Director of Adult Literacy Barrow. She spent decades as a Georgia elementary school teacher and administrator. Shannon says teachers are not to blame. She says they were only teaching how they were told to teach by universities.
I would have tears from teachers in the sessions, and they would just say, I feel so guilty. I think about all the students that I've taught that I did a disservice to. And I always use the Maya Angelou quote about we do the best we can until we know better, but once we know better, we have to do better.
30 years after the DOJ study, an education policy group says higher education is largely not doing better. The National Council on Teacher Quality, or NCTQ, published a report in 2023 concluding that too many teachers are not training in scientifically based reading instruction. It gave 191 college programs in 44 states a failing grade, including 7 institutions in Georgia, after identifying what it calls debunked reading methods in course material. The University System of Georgia has oversight of higher education in the state. It did not respond to requests for an interview, but wrote that it has strong concerns with NCTQ's findings, which studies have shown rely on flawed research methodology.
I think it was scary having to learn how to believe in myself.
3 years after earning her GED, Kayla is more than a proficient reader. She's a teacher at Lanier Technical College, helping students learn to well, giving them new skills and a chance at a bright future, something she almost didn't see for herself.
It gave me something to tell my kids that I'd done for myself that I was proud of.
Georgia Public Schools are currently implementing new reading curriculum and teacher training lawmakers mandated 2 years ago. And in April 2025, Governor Brian Kemp signed a bill banning a controversial method of teaching reading called 3Qing. Some education advocates contend the strategy encourages children to guess words using context clues and pictures rather than decoding them through phonics. The law also prohibits Georgia Public Schools from using Reading Recovery, a long-standing reading intervention program for struggling first graders. A 2023 study by the University of Delaware found it can be harmful to some students. In Atlanta, I'm Andy Parati.